Hello, how is everyone? So, today I'm doing a video reacting to this video that someone sent me called How Neuralink Will Solve Blindness. Okay, that's kind of an odd title, because it's like, what is this, a math problem with solving blindness? But anyway, I'm doing the face cam. I don't know how well it looks. I also show my monitor. Let's just get into it. I'm going to try to have a raw reaction. Never watched this. Just got sent this video. Thought I would record it for you guys. It's a change of content. I thought I'd try something new and keep experimenting as always. Let me know what you guys think. As always, leave a like, comment, subscribe to this channel. I'm gonna do some interesting things, not just blind related, or maybe do something cool with Blind Twist. I am legally blind. If you're new here, I've been legally blind for my entire life. I barely have like crazy good usable vision. I only can see from one eye. And I use a cane and read braille and anyway, or stuff actually. I'll just say stuff because I don't want to put any cursing here, or trying to keep it to a minimum. Let's get started. Let's watch this video. Let's enjoy it together. I'll pause and let you guys know what I think about different sections and give my raw reaction. As always, the link to the original video will be in the description. And yeah, let's watch this.
You think a tiny chip could be the answer to blindness? It sounds like sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
Well, you might want to think again. Here's a clip of Elon sharing the first two problems his company Neuralink is focused on solving.
Okay.
Really, actually, we're going far beyond what the requirements are of the FDA from a safety standpoint. And the initial devices will really just be pretty basic. It'll be about restoring functionality to people who've lost their connection between their brain and their body. So you can imagine, like, if, say, Stephen Hawking could talk or communicate.
The first person who mentions is Stephen Hawking. Okay. That's, wow. Rest in peace to Stephen Hawking, man. He was a absolute legend for everyone, including people in the disability community, I know for sure. Just his passion and his knowledge was built up to the point where it passed, I'm not a scientist, but it passed the knowledge of many scientists of today. I don't know if they compare him to Einstein like that. I'm not a physicist, but he was a genius. He will be missed. Let's continue.
As fast as somebody with a fully functioning body. That would be amazing. So that's like what we're trying to do. That's our first application, is to restore functionality to
How much will this cost?
Tetraplegics, and people who have just, for whatever reason,
That sounds amazing.
no longer have a connection between, or a limited connection between their brain and their body. And then the second application would be restoration of eyesight. So if somebody's gone completely blind, maybe even has lost the optic nerve, you can actually still directly stimulate the neurons in the visual part of the cortex.
Okay.
So you can give people direct vision to the brain.
It sounds like he is directly working on this. It's pretty funny, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I can't scientifically say what I think about it because I'm not the one who could look at this and just say, oh my gosh, it sounds perfect. But I'm not sure how he is testing this. I'm not sure if he's using human subjects. I don't think he is. I'm not sure. Again, I'm just watching this raw, but man, the cure to blindness has been promised so much. It's just like, when's the cure gonna come? It's just like, it's like one of those things like immortality that you don't know if it's ever possible or if it will ever be done. But if this was hypothetically going to happen, this little chip that you could just punch into your brain just cures blindness, it would be absolutely amazing. I mean, I know people who, I personally know people who have lost their sight with time, or who have gone through an accident, or just got sick and then lost their sight. It's very hard for those individuals because they have to readapt their way of living toward being visually impaired. Granted, it's hard for everyone, but for those who had sight before and lost it, it feels a little bit worse because, you know, you had something and then one day you wake up, it's not there, and it's just like, wow, I can't drive. What am I gonna do with this old Camaro besides just polishing it, you know? I'm sure for those individuals, this thing This thing would mean to the world. By the way, that's my NVDA cursor. I can move my mouse and it plays audio coordinates. We'll just keep it right there at the top. Let's continue.
In fact, you could actually, depending upon what cameras you use, you could actually see in different wavelengths.
Around 40 million people around the world have some form of blindness.
Yeah, it's a
This
big
number
number.
continues to grow, but fortunately, this problem may become an issue of the past. If you've been subscribed to Neuropod and already understand the basics of how Neuralink will work, go ahead and skip the next 60 seconds of the video. So far, Neuralink has demonstrated they've successfully been able to
How long is this video? I'm gonna edit this out.
in monkeys and other animals.
We're back.
And now that it's time to test in humans, you're probably wondering how this tiny package will be able to provide vision.
Wait, so it has been tested on monkeys? Hold up, I missed that.
Basics of how Neuralink will work, go ahead and skip the next 60 seconds of the video. So far, Neuralink has demonstrated they've successfully been able to implant this quarter-size package in monkeys and other
Quarter
animals.
size?
And now that it's time to test in humans, you're probably wondering how this
Oh, they are opening to human testing? What? That's crazy. I'd be terrified. Dude, I'd be terrified if I was, signing up for a Neuralink test. Because they're like, oh, we're just going to chop open your brain and just put this little thing inside your head. See how it works. Hopefully it's not going to short circuit anything. I would be terrified, bro.
tiny package
Like, props to
will
those
be able to
who are doing
provide
those
vision to those who don't currently
studies
have
or
it.
like who going through testing.
Neuralink is working on building a brain-machine interface, or a device that will help us send information from our brains to computers.
Dude, we'll
and
be
vice
walking
versa.
cyborgs.
The surgery will require cutting open a hole in the skull,
Of course.
and having a surgical robot sew these very tiny threads into the brain. The threads have
That's
probes.
even more scary. What if that robot like short circuits during the procedure? And I'm just left with like a wide open wound in my head. Oh gosh. So they're thinking of putting a chip inside of your head and then having a robot put it in your head. Ooh. Oh, that sounds scary. Ooh.
that can detect electrical impulses from the neurons and then send this information back to the chips. Since there are many problems Neuralink hopes to solve in the future, like depression, blindness, or paralysis, they have to identify the best areas of the brain to implant these chips. In the case of paralysis, for example, they'll implant in both the motor cortex and the spinal cord. In the case of
And
solving
the spinal
blindness,
cord?
they'll implant in the visual cortex in the back of the brain.
Man, I used to take classes on psychology. I'm just hearing cortex. Like whenever I hear cortex, I always think of what was it from Crash Bandicoot? Dr. Neocortex. I'm stupid. Continue.
I had the chance to interview James Dauma and ask him for more detail on how they'll be able to achieve this.
So it should be able to solve most kinds of blindness. The kind of blindness, like anything that's wrong with your eyes or your optic nerve or the processing in your thalamus, like it bypasses all of that. It goes.
Yeah, but like, okay. So my blindness, as an example, I'm totally blind on my left eye. I have a prosthesis. My right eye, I was born with my eyes underdeveloped. So meant that my eyes, when I was in the womb, it didn't develop as quickly as everything else in my body, which meant when I was born, there was no more development that could have been taking place. That's how it's been explained to me. So the back of my eyes, according to my doctor, are completely fine. It's just the front part, or I guess on one eye, the front part on one eye is like completely freaked out, like messed up. Like it's just like, imagine your windshield just covered in smoke, like you can't even see a foot in front of you. Like that's how I could explain it. I can't explain 20/20 vision for obvious reasons. I've never experienced it ever in my life, so I can't say that. But man, I'm just thinking like, would I have to get an entirely new like eye just to work with this thing, or I'm gonna have a little camera sticking out of my skull in order for me to see? Like it's just gonna be so weird. And it's worse because I don't want to go swimming. I don't want to short circuit my brain going swimming. Like this thing sounds a little scary. I'm gonna wait for version like 400 of this thing, because it's not gonna be like some iPhone where the battery's not that good, or it dies. It's my eyes. I'm gonna need this thing to work perfectly 1000% of the time.
Goes straight to the visual cortex. And it turns out some people have lesions in their visual cortex where like they'll have some damage usually it's from a stroke or something
Okay.
like that. And but I mean, the brain, because the brain is so plastic, given time, their brain will rearrange itself. So the functions that the damaged tissue used to do will be taken on by other things, and then so some level of visual acuity gets restored. And so the prosthesis will be able to take advantage of that to some extent, the flexibility of the tissue to help provide vision to, even to people who don't like have a so-called cortical blindness is when your cortex is damaged and you're blind because of that cortex damage. I was trying to come up with a really good summary of like how do they intend to restore blindness. I mean, the simple answer to that is they intend to install in the skull a visual prosthesis that will attach to the visual cortex in the brain, probably around V1, where
a visual prosthesis.
They can inject.
A prosthesis basically is like a limb replacement. So I have a prosthesis on my left eye. That's a prosthetic in basic words. It's like when you get, like, you know, if someone chops their leg off some way, they could get like a prosthetic leg or something, or arm, or, you know, that's just another word for like a limb replacement or a organ replacement. So, okay, so what I'm understanding here, I'm not sure if they're showing anything visual because I could see only a little bit. What I'm picking up is that there is this Neuralink chip that goes inside your head, and then there is this like prosthesis that like kind of sticks out of your skull, I guess where your eye holes are, and it connects with that Neuralink through your optic nerve and the visual cortex. And I'm not like a neuroscientist or anything like that, or an ophthalmologist, but that hypothetically will give you sight, which, you know, sounds easy, but man, medicine is just so complicated.
Project a signal that the brain will interpret as an image in a similar fashion to how it interprets the signals that come from your eyes to the brain.
Man, I don't want to get regular vision. Give me X-ray vision. Give me like heat vision. Like
they have an implant. So can they do this? They can totally do it. Like it's been demonstrated. In fact, they probably have
really?
The approach they're taking to doing the implant is extremely well suited to doing vision, like better than other things are. I mean, a big part of it is they have a lot of.
Are you sure this man's not getting paid a good check from Elon because he's saying all these great things? Like it's wishful thinking. I'm not sure. I'm just saying, like, I'm not a hater. I'm just saying, like, is it really this good? Is it really like possible that Neuralink will just poof, like bring vision back, like ChatGPT killed off most jobs? No. Continue. I'm stupid.
Right, and you know, pictures are made of lots of pixels, and to a first approximate, I mean, there's different ways the prosthesis can be done, and over time they will probably change the part of the brain that they interface to, because one of the things that's going to happen when they start doing is they're going to learn a lot about how the visual cortex functionally works in
learn a lot
beings, and how people experience that interaction.
Learn a lot,
because they're going to be putting
learn a lot to me sounds like, yeah, we're still figuring it out.
many more electrodes into human beings who can tell you what the experience is like.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
A lot of experiments you just can't do with animals because
sorry, I don't want to go from seeing okay with color to seeing only in black and white and some red. No.
you can't get the feedback from them that to help you understand what's
of course
going on. And it's hard for animals to do kind of direct feedback, to interact with the machine, which is interpreting their images and guide it to helping them see better, right?
Yeah, a monkey's not going to tell you, well, I don't know, I'm not a zoologist, but a monkey's not going to tell you, hey, I could see 4 fingers. Well, they probably could like indicate in some way, but they're not going to tell you, oh yeah, I see all colors. I see, I mean, granted, a person who's been totally blind their entire life, they're only going to say, oh wow. They're probably not going to be able to say, oh yeah, I see blue, green, orange, because they have never seen color in their life. So the initial shock of the overload in sensory information, I can't imagine how that would feel.
Like that's just going to be a lot harder to do as an animal. So when they start doing this stuff in
have they used
humans,
animals
I expect it to move forward
who are totally blind?
Quickly. The physical part of it is, you know, being able to build the implant, being able to install the implant safely, and being able to connect the implant to the parts of the brain that matter for vision.
Okay.
The visual cortex is in the back of the brain, and as we talked about in other videos,
Crash Bandicoot.
the gray matter of the neocortex is on the surface of the brain. So it's pretty easy to get access to neurons to trigger them in the visual cortex within reason. There is kind of this annoying thing, which is there's a fold in the brain, right, where the cortex is. You know how the brain, it looks kind of lumpy. And that's because...
Yeah, I remember I was taking a class on the neurological structure of the brain, and it was explained pretty well to me, even though if I'm visually impaired. They say, like, if you fold your hands up and, like, together, like, and cup them, and interlock your fingers, that's kind of like how the brain kind of looks. I'm not sure if that's 1001% accurate, but that's like just a quick model where, like, you know, there's like little folds and folds and folds, and there's like, I think the thumb is like the frontal cortex, and there's all kinds of parts of the brain that I don't know at all. Like, I totally forgot. I used to get like 70s and like 60s on all the tests because I used to just look at my notes a lot before taking a test. But yeah, I don't remember much about the brain structure other than it kind of looks like the way if you put your hands together and like cup them.
Because it's a flat sheet which has been wadded up so it'll fit inside your skull, so it has these folds in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the points you want to access are on the surface of the folds. So most of the folds aren't super deep, but some of the folds are pretty deep, and it turns out that there's a pretty deep one in the back, right in the middle of the visual cortex. So now they say they can insert these probes quite deeply into the brain, and they might want to go pretty deep depending on what parts of the visual cortex that they get to. When you start out, the simplest thing to do is, it turns out very conveniently for people who want to make visual prostheses, that the neocortex arranges the image that comes from your eye, the neurons that work on that, almost like a projector screen on the back of your head, right? So we already know about where the neurons for the different parts of your visual field go. So when you look at something, your brain takes what both eyes see, it kind of mixes it together. It
in my case,
an overall perception. Like there's this initial processing which actually happens kind of deep inside your brain, and then the part that appears on the back of the visual cortex is almost like a projector screen of the person's field of view, like what they see.
Okay.
And it's the combination of what both eyes see. And so you can pick different points on that, and you can say, well, this is in the center of the vision, and this is a little left, and this is a little further left. So by putting a grid of electrodes in those spaces, distributed according to the phosphors that you want to activate, you can paint pictures for people. And essentially by painting those pictures with the prosthesis, in the same way that we paint pictures on a computer screen. Like, you can make a movie, you can make vision out of it. So it's a little bit more complicated than just saying,
it's like pixels,
brightness here and darkness there, because there's a little pre-processing. But one of the great things about the thing like the Neuralink is it's got a lot of bandwidth going in, and it has a pretty powerful computer outside. So for instance, if you had a camera with a computer, like even a cell phone, and take an image.
Dude, cell phones have really good cameras. I mean, I could record videos on my cell phone. They look beautiful. I mean, granted, I'm not on those new 48 megapixel cameras that they have on the new iPhones, but man, my iPhone 13 Pro Max just does it. It does pretty much everything I wanted it to do.
Pre-process the image into.
I believe the cameras can help a lot.
Need to be activated in the brain. Send that to the Neuralink, and then the person will experience seeing through the camera. Now, when we say seeing, in early days, it's going to be fairly crude, because the level of refinement that science has gotten to in terms of being able to generate this stuff is not very high right now. But as I mentioned at the start of this, once they start putting these prostheses in people and getting feedback.
Yeah, I'm gonna be person 7,000 million.
Of what they're able to deliver
2
very
trillion,
rapid
400 bajillion.
and it'll,
I know I just
it'll
made up a
increase
number,
because
but
the software
I'm just trying to
should
say,
get better
like,
at a pretty terrific
I'm
rate.
waiting for this thing to be
Both
good,
for
good, good. Like
individuals
by
and across
2600 or
businesses.
200,
And then when you
2050.
combine that with,
I mean,
you
I
know,
won't be alive by 2600. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I'm not gonna be one of the people who are like, I gotta get this now. No.
we talked before about how they're trying to increase, electrode numbers. They're going to 16,000 electrodes, and
I have no idea what that means, but that
I
sounds
guess
promising.
they have a die that has 4096 electrodes, and they're going to put 4 of those in a single implant, so they can do 16,000. That's
My
a
mouse
pretty
keeps moving.
functional amount of. Experiments have been done with stimulating the visual cortexes in human beings to provide images and that kind of stuff, and they've been much, much lower numbers. And yet people can get utility out of that, right? It doesn't. There's a huge difference between being completely blind and having even a little bit of vision.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
So later, the way that the way that your brain processes video is it starts with a very simple representation, which is pretty much, just the colors and the patterns you're seeing. And then it interprets that as it works its way up the visual cortex into higher and higher level abstractions. And so as time goes on, they may develop the software. In fact, it seems likely that you would develop the software to let you access those higher level abstractions.
Wait, so you're telling me I could control my eyes on my phone one day? Like on an app? Like I go, open my eyes. Oh, my eyes have to charge tonight.
So instead of, and the reason you might want to do that is because at the low level, to some extent, you need like a probe for every pixel, every dot that a person can see across. And so, like just like for
What is the resolution of an
a
eye?
4K television that has 4 megapixels.
Well, I'm sure
screen,
like
you need 4
that an
million
eye
probes
could
or
pick up
something
more than
if you want to,
4K.
like do a similar thing. But if you
Obviously,
if
but,
you're
like,
able to access higher levels, fewer probes get you more resolution, or they get you the experience of more resolution. So at least that is what should happen. Of course, most of this stuff hasn't been explored because they're pretty hard experiments to do, and they're going to get a lot easier once we start providing basic capabilities to patients, like through the process of working with patients and giving them basic capabilities. The technology should rapidly be able to move forward to providing better and better and better. So I would think the second,
Like I said,
generation
I'm patient.
would be radically
7
better
trillion,
than really crude things
400 billion,
on the first try.
3,964,731.
Damage could potentially, and I think that was something Elon.
That's an actual number.
Like,
Wow.
potentially this works. It should work. Eventually, it's going to start
Eventually.
out being a level of visual acuity which is very crude compared to what like a person with 20/20 vision or even somebody with 2200 vision has. Like it's going to be really, really crude.
No, I appreciate his honesty, honestly. He's like, okay, it's not going to be perfect, but we got to start somewhere. I appreciate that.
But it's still going to be an enormous improvement for people who are like profoundly blind.
Yeah.
Because the insertion process in the visual cortex is a bit more complicated. The surgery is a bit more complicated
Neocortex.
because of these folds they might want to go into.
I'm an idiot.
I would kind
Gotta
of expect
entertain
that to
myself
come
in
a
some
little bit
way.
later, as they've got a better understanding of how and where they want to stimulate tissue, then moving on to doing the visual cortex. And they don't have to start by going deep into the visual cortex. I mean, early implants, when they do them initially, because it's like the part of the visual cortex you want to access, it's not all deep inside there. There are parts of it that are exposed outside. So, and because the brain is so plastic and flexible, for someone who's not using their visual cortex, like if you stimulate another region which is close to the region that you want to get to, the brain will rewire itself to take advantage of that, right? But in order to make the best use of the wiring the brain already has, and to make it easier for people to be able to get good use out of the visual prosthesis quickly, you would like to start with the closest to the natural mapping of these structures that you can get. So, like, I don't know what the specific technical challenges that they have right now are.
Yeah, will require a charger. Like, well, I need a solar panel in the back of my head to keep this Neuralink charged. I mean, so like electrodes in my brain that just pass through it to keep it, working. Durability of stuff. If I'm paying $100,000+ for or more for a Neuralink. How will I know? Like, how long will the lifetime be for this device before it, goes combustion junction? I don't know. There's so many things that just kind of freak me out. Like, what if I'm just walking outside and I can see perfectly fine, and a second later it just goes dark because I had to charge my Neuralink or replace it? I don't know. I appreciate their honesty, but
what they're building is a very general and flexible interface to the brain, and once they
will I have Google in my head
installed, it's going to become a software problem.
I could play like Mario 64 inside my brain.
And when the good thing about it becoming a software problem is software progresses.
Imagine they're like, oh, you got a $500,000 chip in your head. What are you gonna do with it? You finally got your sight back. About to play some Mario 64.
This is 100 times, 1,000 times faster than the hardware does. So,
imagine you could just put your brain to sleep and then just doze off and play some video games. Like, you're the active user in your brain. How could you even program in your brain? I mean, I'm a casual programmer, and I'm just thinking, like, how you test your applications to know if they work if you're using it in your head. You just zap yourself and come out. What happened? It didn't run. You feel okay? Yeah.
My intuition is that
can't move my left arm, but I'm fine.
Utility that will progress very quickly once they've got the basic interface in there, and they can start working on the software aspects of making it work really well.
Thanks for watching. My name is Ryan Tanaka. If you're interested in hearing more from James about how Neuralink works, check out this video.
Alright, I like the honesty. They said we're not going to get there 100% right away, but all the stuff about electrodes and stuff like that, they lost me at that. I'm sure it's somewhat similar to like pixelation, I'm assuming. Overall, guys, we're not there yet. I'm sorry, like, it's going to take some time for us to get to a point where we can just put a little chip in your head and some prosthesis and just say, hey, you're off, you're good to go. I don't think it's going to be something that we get tomorrow, unfortunately. I'm someone who has a visual impairment. I've been, like this since I was a baby, and I have a lifetime of experience, and I've heard countless times that, hey, the cure to blindness is right around the corner. I'm gonna be honest with you, most blind people really aren't like 100% anticipating it because they're scared or afraid of what sorts of errors and bugs will come with it, because it's something that's very sensitive. If it were me, I would choose to stay like this until something has been 101,000% proven to be effective, because the worst thing you can do is go underneath the needle and wake up and you're worse than you were before. But everyone's different, everyone has their own opinion, that's just mine, and I feel like it's valid to have an opinion. Even if you're not visually impaired, you have a right to whatever you believe in, and I just wanted to put my thoughts out there, as this is my daily life, this is what I go through every day, and I have this channel Neon where I try to educate you guys and build this up, so please like, comment, subscribe. As always, let me know what you guys think. Have a great one, take care, be well, share it with your friends, and keep rocking, guys. Be back with the next one soon.